Welcome in for another episode of What's Bruin. I'm your host, Chris Nozick, joined by the one and only Gayle Triani. Gayle, it's been a few weeks for us. Bruins were eliminated from the playoff race, so we took a little bit of time off. And how you doing? Are you managing to suffer through any of Bruins Twitter these days after the Carolina Hurricanes have won?
Very rarely. I'm trying not to because most people are so insufferable right now. It's just I don't understand why people are being the way they are. I mean, I get it to a point. Yes, yes, the Bruins have not won a Stanley Cup, and three former Bruins did this week. But when people say, why can't we get players like that? Well, let's not pretend that Taylor Hall was there for the historic season and they sucked in the postseason and got outed by Florida in the first round. Brandon Bussey, like you've said on Twitter so much, like I have caught that, and hi, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin.
That, he was their third goaltender.
He wasn't even their third. Oh, in Carolina he was. Yeah.
Carolina.
The insufferability that I'm seeing is Boston this, Boston that. The Brandon Bussey Stanley Cup has made everyone an expert in Michael DiPietro somehow.
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious, but like there's no context ever added. Brandon Bussey, Dom Fire Leech.
They don't have to. He's gone.
He's already gone, as is Jamie Langenbrunner too, by the way.
Hi,
no, Kevin, we're not firing Dom. Not after all the requests that we heard and received to bring Dom back as quickly as we could. So I will be on the air Saturday morning with Dom on this very channel as well. We're going to have an expert from McKeen's Hockey as we talk about the upcoming draft. So, Kevin, if you can't tune in live, I'm sorry, but just catch it later. It releases as a pod, and you can also watch it back on YouTube. So shout out to anyone who already has caught that show. We appreciate it, and we're looking forward to having someone on from McKeen's to talk about next week's draft. But yes, Leach is gone. Langenbrunner signed with Nashville, and everyone is apparently an expert on DiPietro now because Brandon Bussey won a Stanley Cup. Right. Brandon Bussey was this team's fourth option. People forget that year he was sent to Providence. He lost the starting job. He just hasn't had a chance to say it for a few weeks. Nice. Brandon Bussey lost the starting job in Providence to DiPietro.
Right.
And because he was now officially their number 4 on the depth chart, he left in free agency. He signed with Florida. He failed to beat out Danil Tarasov for their 2G spot, which means he was their third option. He wasn't even the third option for Carolina. Carolina's third option was Caden Primeau. The only reason why they picked up Brandon Bussey off of waivers was because the Toronto Maple Leafs claimed Caden Primeau off of waivers because they opted not to sign James Reimer.
Right.
So if they sign James Reimer, Caden Primeau is in their system. They don't even take Brandon Bussey. Brandon Bussey clears waivers and is playing for the Charlotte Checkers this year.
Right.
So good for him. Classic good for him. They went on to win the cup. He helped. He was a major role in it. You know who was a major role on this Bruins team this year who also benefited from an opportunity? Jonathan Aspero. Jonathan Aspero was for this team what Brandon Bussey was for Carolina. The only difference is the team in front of Brandon Bussey was significantly better, and they were able to go on and win the cup. All Brandon Bussey had to do was stop the shots that he was supposed to and a few of the ones that he could. He didn't have to be otherworldly. And he sure as hell wasn't otherworldly. He was just steady. And that's what they needed from him.
I'm just glad karma came for Carter Hart.
Don't worry, though. It's just noise. Kevin says, I'm happy for Bussey. I liked him while he was here, and I'm happy he's finally getting a shot. Yeah, I forget who I messaged this to, but there's no one on that team, in my opinion, more deserving of a cup than Taylor Hall after everything he's been through. You know,
You said it
all
to me.
this.
We just talked about.
Well, I know I said it to you too. I don't remember who else I've said it to, but you know, all the years he went through in Edmonton, then he gets dealt, and then he has that MVP season with New Jersey. Then he's sent to Arizona, which was a clusterfuck when he was there. You know, he signs with Buffalo, has to force his way to Boston. He made 3 playoff runs with Boston. Let's not forget that. It's go under the rug that he had 3 playoff seasons with Boston, and couple of them were not that great. 5 points in 11 games, 4 points in 7 games. His last year, that historic season, he was a key player. That was 8 points in 7 games for him. He still didn't get past the first round.
Right.
And then he goes off. He has a great playoff for Carolina. He fit that team. You know who didn't fit that team? Mikko Rantanen. And as soon as they dealt him, they got better for it. That's what we need to see more teams do. Move off of things that don't work. And I immediately say that, and I know what everybody out there watching is thinking. Oh, move off Jonas Korpisalo. Have you seen the insufferability of Korpisalo hate?
Well, and it's mainly, and it's, you know, he's getting the hate because they don't like Jeremy Swayman's contract. So, because I'm seeing a lot of, so you don't need to have an $8 million goaltender to win a Stanley Cup. Because Carolina, all 3 of their goaltenders, Anderson, Bussy, and I'm drawing a blank,
Kochetkov,
they're all $3 million or less.
Yeah. As Dom says, Brandon Bussy didn't win a cup. Carolina did. Swayman didn't lose a cup. Boston did. 100%.
Right. No, I 100% agree. But people, which is bizarre to me because hockey fans should know that it's a team thing. Tim Thomas did not win the Stanley Cup alone in 2011. If it weren't for Zdeno Chara, Dennis Seidenberg, Patrice Bergeron, Brad Marchand, Mark Recchi, just to name a few, they don't win the cup.
They also don't win the cup if Tyler Seguin doesn't get a hat trick in his game against the Lightning.
Right.
Which, who had that? Like, were expectations high for the kid?
Honestly,
yeah, they were.
They don't win a cup if Rome doesn't take out Horton.
That too. Kevin says, I still rather have Swayman than Bussy.
100%.
100%. Like, and to your point, do you need a $8 million plus goaltender to win the Stanley Cup? No, you don't need one. But when you look at their lineup, Aho, Ehlers, Svechnikov, Jarvis, Logan Stankoven, like they were getting plays from everybody. And you know who I didn't mention in that? The Conn Smythe winner, Jordan Staal.
Right. Who kind of weird that he won the Conn Smythe, though.
Once he had the 5 goals in 5 games, I kind of figured he was going to become the favorite if Carolina took home the cup. Taylor Hall put on a Conn Smythe performance, though. And all of those stars that I just mentioned did not mention Jacob Slavin, did not mention how well Sean Walker played, did not mention Keandre Miller. Like, you know, Shane Gostisbehere stepped up, Alexander Nikishin. When you have that kind of lineup, you don't need a $10 million goaltender.
Let's also not forget Frederik Andersen was playing well. He wasn't playing bad. And if it weren't for the injury, and also couple it with his agent, one of his closest friends, his closest allies, death.
Yeah.
I'm not sure Bussy sees the ice.
Yeah. It really unfortunate timing for all of the stuff that Anderson had to go through. But for the first 3 rounds, he was their Conn Smythe favorite.
And I was shocked because given his history, he usually did when he was in Toronto, he didn't come up big in games.
No, not in the important ones. But then again, the question now is, was it him who didn't come up, or was it the people in front of him who just played so poorly?
And that's what I was just going to say. The defense, obviously, in Toronto is a lot different than the way the team's built in Carolina.
It's just, yeah, exactly. Curtis says Staal was 70% in the face-off dot. Like, that's part of why he won the Conn Smythe.
Right.
That is what you would have needed in his final season from Patrice Bergeron.
Right.
Like, if you really want to have those roles comparison, then that's like having Patrice Bergeron as your third line center and being able to roll him out there just on the penalty kill and saying, you don't have to worry about scoring because we've got 2 1B centers on our top 2 lines.
Well, unfortunately for Boston, they never planned for Bergeron or Krejci to not be there, so they never got the opportunity to take some of the ice time away from Bergeron to extend his career a little bit longer. He was still big time minutes. He was still, counted on for everything, and he came up big in most spots. But the thing is that in that historic season, he also got injured the final game of the season.
Yep.
Missed the first 5 games of the first round. I mean, that has a lot to do with it. So
I will push back a little bit, not hard, but a little bit on their lack of preparation for time without, because from 2016 on, they drafted multiple centers most of the time. And just none of them came to any sort of fruition. Some of the more promising ones had stuff that came up and they didn't stick with the organization.
Right. But the other thing is, too, is that you have to remember, it's something that we talk about ad nauseum, is that, what center was going to push Patrice Bergeron out of that top role?
Exactly.
What center was going to push David Krejci out of that role? Now, in hindsight, if they could have found a James Higgins a little bit earlier, then you know what I mean. But guess what? They didn't.
And I think
because their draft capital wasn't there.
You also got to think of it in one, like you said, the draft capital overall wasn't there, and 2, they didn't have a time frame from Bergeron as to when he was going to retire.
No.
And clearly they didn't have one from Krejci because he went away for 1 season and then came back.
Right.
So they didn't have the ability to prepare because they didn't have that information, and neither one of them are even old enough right now where you'd sit there and say they can't play anymore.
Right.
People of their age are still playing in this league. So they chose to retire. And okay, if Sweeney was off his target a little bit by a couple, a 2 or 3 drafts, that's also not entirely his fault because they didn't tell him when he was retiring in advance so he could have that plan in place.
Mm-hmm.
So Kevin asked to Stahl retire now. I don't think so. Yeah, Dom, I know. Urho Vakanainen was drafted over Robert Thomas. I know that's one instance, but, I mean, they still drafted multiple centers going back in the years. Now, I don't think all of them were drafted with the intention of usurping Krejci and Bergeron. I don't think they ever looked at Trent Frederick and said he's going to be one of those guys. But they still drafted several just because they, and they also had other needs as well. And at the time, when they picked Vakanainen over Robert Thomas, they needed a left shot D. Mm-hmm. They ended up using Vakanainen to go out and get Hampus Lindholm once they realized that Vakanainen was not going to be the second pairing guy they needed him to be.
Right.
Now, he's gone on to have a better career than most people expected when he was wearing a black and yellow jersey, but he's still not Hampus Lindholm.
No.
So, but yeah, Kevin says Barzal in 15 would have been great. Let's move on from 2015 because you can look back at any draft and go, oh, well, that player instead of this player would have been great. Yeah, now that you have hindsight and you see what a player has become, you can do that for every draft. You really think every team that passed on Henrik Lundqvist doesn't regret that? Like, come on. So now the question that I think most people are now left with, they don't want to see Michael DiPietro, quote unquote, go to waste the same way that Brandon Bussey did. Now, I don't worry about that because I don't see the two anywhere close to the same. I know I've watched Michael DiPietro in Providence plenty of times, and we've had the conversation several times. My opinion on him doesn't change. He, at best, is a part-time NHL backup. At best. Does he deserve a shot? Yes. Is it with the Boston Bruins? In my opinion, no. Not if this team wants to be competitive for a playoff spot. And John says next year Boston not making the playoffs. You will see. You cannot get lucky every year. Wait and see.
Can we actually get through the offseason before we say they're not making the playoffs?
Isn't that what everyone said coming into this year too?
Yeah.
There was no shot in hell that they were a lottery team at best. And then they go out and have 100-point season.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying they're going to be a 100-point season. I'm just going to say, let me wait and see what the roster actually looks like before I say what they're going to be. Because coming into this season, you and I were pretty spot on as to how they were going to finish.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we had them over the 100-point threshold, but I don't think we had as many teams over that threshold as ended up there.
Right.
So, but yeah, we had them in that.
I think, in all honesty, it was more shocking how bad Toronto did this past season than how successful Boston was.
Yeah, but I do think, and Florida as well. Florida suffered injuries.
No,
all over
Florida to me, with especially when Barkov went down as early as he did, I was like, that. I mean, that's their heart and soul. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
there's a big difference there.
But they were hit by major injuries all year.
I kept saying that Jeremy Swayman was going to have a bounce back year.
Oh yeah.
Who had a bounce back year? Jeremy Swayman.
The guy who finished third in the Vezina voting.
Right.
I'd call that a bounce back.
Yeah.
Tyler says Boston is so Toronto light in its boomerism. Let's see what Don does. I mean, Florida and Toronto were both hit with major injuries. I don't think Toronto has the fall off that they have if Austin Matthews doesn't get taken out by Radko Gudas.
I'm not sure. Because they still had questionable goaltending.
They did. I'm just saying it wouldn't have been as severe as it was. I don't think their odds pushed them to the number 1 overall pick.
Hey, Ruby was not the right fit in Toronto.
No, he was not. And it's funny now because Florida is finally.
Kenny.
What's that?
Kenny
says Don Sweeney's. Kenny, go back and watch the first 10 minutes of the show. Oh, he said he meant doomerism, not boomerism. Okay, well, close enough. Gotta love typos. Kenny put Swayman on Carolina and they win the cup. Don't be dumb. Yeah, well, that's the game that a lot of people are trying to play right now.
Swayman on Vegas and they probably would have won the cup.
You could have put Swayman probably on Anaheim and they make the final. Anaheim with Jeremy Swayman probably gets past Vegas. They have it. They were playing real well. They couldn't get it past Carter Hart. Carter Hart had a big series that year.
But he sucked in the Stanley Cup final.
Oh yeah. It was the complete
very
opposite.
Happy. Very, very happy.
Don't worry, it's just noise. Now everyone wants to see Connor Hellebuck moved to Florida, and I think it's hilarious because I keep seeing Sam Miskevich and Anton Lundell as like the two key pieces of any trade. I've seen him go to Detroit for Dylan Larkin.
Because Florida is the short list for every free agent that's out there or every player that's asked for a trade. Florida's on the list.
Can you blame them though? They've won 2 out of 3. I mean, they've been to 3 out of 4. The winning pedigree is there. It's a no-tax state, as much as Gary Bettman doesn't want to admit it. That is a part of it. And they have fun down there. You're in Florida. In the middle of the winter, you can go outside in a short-sleeve shirt. You're not walking through and trudging through 6 feet of snow. who wouldn't want to go play there? Other than if they're losing the way Buffalo used to. Like, of course they're going to be on everyone's short list right now. I would be shocked if they weren't. But that doesn't mean everyone's going to go there. Florida has to look at the player and say, not only do they want to come here, but we want to give up what it's going to take to get them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Sam Miskevich, great young player, is only 23. What's that?
I said, excuse me.
Oh. They have several holes right now, and giving up pieces to bring in a Dylan Larkin, to bring in a Connor Hellebuck, just doesn't make much sense, because it's only going to open up more holes. When you can go out and, as we've seen, if you put together the right team, Daniil Tarasov will be good enough for them, as much as Brandon Bussey was good enough for Carolina. Now they still need someone in the second spot, and I know they just signed Cooper Black to an extension. I think he's got one more year in the American Hockey League before he's ready, but let's not act like Sergei Bobrovsky's been asking for out.
Right.
Like, his family's there. His family loves it there. You don't fuck with Happy. He's happy there. Is he going to make maybe as much as he wants? Maybe not, but he's also 37. And his agent's going to take that into consideration with their ask anyway. Bobrovsky, could he sign somewhere else? He could. That's the right of an unrestricted free agent. It just doesn't make much sense for him to uproot his entire life for a 2-year contract.
Right.
If he's going to sign a 2-year contract, it's going to be in Florida. I could see Florida extending it to 3 or 4 years, similar to what they did with Brad Marchand, just so they can keep the cap hit a little lower.
Right.
Excuse me. But I also know that the team is big on Daniil Tarasov. And, I mean, clearly, if they picked him over Brandon Bussey, that must mean they love him that much more, right?
Mm.
So, are you worried about the Bruins missing out on potential greatness from Michael DiPietro at all?
No.
That was short.
Well, because
definitive. I like it. I feel the same way. I'm not surprised.
Let's be honest. Who would you rather have in net, Jeremy Swayman or Michael DiPietro?
Of course it's going to be Swayman.
Regardless of contract, just play alone. Who do you want in net? Jeremy Swayman or Michael DiPietro?
Swayman.
So where's the greatness? How is the greatness going to shine if you're playing 20 to 30 games a year because Swayman has the net that often?
Because he's going to go 32-2 with a 1.86. Didn't you know that?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, of course. Like that's what he's going to do, because he's that much better than Jonas Korpisalo. And look, I understand for the purposes of the salary cap, the concept of, you can't do much better, can't do much worse. Like, I understand that thought process.
Right.
But when you watch the two play, Jonas Korpisalo and Michael DiPietro, the way they play, the way DiPietro gets beat at the American Hockey League level will happen to him countless times in the NHL. It's part of why his numbers when he was in Vancouver were so bad. It wasn't just because he was young. It's because he overcommits to shots. I can't tell you how many times I've had to explain this. He overcommits to shots. That puts him out of position, whether it's for a rebound, whether it's for a pass that he didn't see that was there. He doesn't track the puck properly. That puts him out of position. And at the American Hockey League level, he is able to recover from those mistakes because the game moves slower. He's not taking shots from Sidney Crosby, Alex Ovechkin, Connor McDavid, Andrei Svechnikov. He's taking shots from American Hockey League players. He's taking shots from Patrick Brown.
Right.
Those are the veteran guys he's taking shots from. They are just a slight speed, like they're just a slight smidge away from being that NHL player. At the NHL, when he has that opportunity exposed, yes, his athleticism might save him some of the time, but what goes against him is his lack of height. Every scout, every goaltending coach that I've talked to has said this exact same concern, and they also say that everyone they've spoken with have that exact same concern. So that's why Boston is not going to hitch their wagon to him as their number 2 goaltender when they don't know what he can do at the NHL level.
I mean, if they can get Korpisalo off the books, and I'm not talking a buyout, I'm talking if they can find a trade partner for something. I won't be heartbroken if Korpisalo leaves. But if the Bruins start the season with the tandem of Jeremy Swayman and Jonas Korpisalo again, I'm not going to have an issue with it.
Right. Now, Kevin
I'm
says
also
that
not going to have an issue with it if they start the season with Swayman and DiPietro.
Right. I'm not going to have an issue.
I mean, I don't care either way as long as everyone understands that Jeremy Swayman is your number 1 goaltender. Which,
Right.
by the way, congratulations to Papa Swayman.
Yes, I saw that. Now, Kevin points out they said all those similar things about Tim Thomas because he was almost never in position. Now, I think what Kevin needs to remember is Tim Thomas started playing for the team in 2002. It wasn't until 2011 when they gave him the net that he was able to get to the Stanley Cup and win it. So it took him almost 10 years.
Well, and not only that, but let's not forget that had Tuukka Rask not got injured in 2010, it may not have been his net in 2011.
You beat me to it. I was going to say over the course of those 10 years, they were building the rest of their roster. They were going through so much roster construction. They didn't care who was in net because they were trying to do a rebuild or a retool, whatever people want to classify that as.
Oh, that was more of a rebuild.
That's what I would classify it as, but some people might argue with it. I don't care. It was a rebuild. But during that rebuild process, he was their rebuilding goaltender. So they didn't care what they were getting from him. But during that time frame, he proved to them that his athleticism allowed him to make certain saves.
Wait, but the other thing is, too, is if you look at Kevin's comment, Tim Thomas, that dude was almost never in position. That is why I usually say that the Boston Bruins won the Stanley Cup in spite of Tim Thomas.
Yeah, he had a very... You don't put up numbers like that without a lot of luck.
Right.
Now,
and I think was it Henrik Lundqvist? No, it wasn't Henrik Lundqvist. Who was it that said the flashiest saves are because the goaltender is out of position? Who was it that said that?
I don't know, but that's why people don't like
another Ranger. It was another Ranger. He was the Ranger that won the Stanley Cups with Gretzky and Messier.
Richter?
Yes.
Yeah.
The flashiest saves come because the goaltender is not in position. And that was Tim Thomas. Because if you remember games 1 and 2, why did Vancouver win those games?
Because Tim Thomas wasn't in position.
Correct.
And Kevin's clarifying. He says, I wasn't saying that to defend DiPietro. Just found it funny because people praise Thomas, but Thomas really wasn't even that good. That's why people hate Tuukka Rask. Because Tuukka Rask did not...
Tim Thomas. I love him as a person, but I don't praise Tim Thomas.
No, that's why people don't like Tuukka Rask, though, because he was not making the flopping, flashy save because he was always in position. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're going to put your money on a single goaltender to win a game for you, and your options are Tim Thomas or Tuukka Rask,
I would have
you're going Tuukka every time.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be in position. He's going to give you a chance to win.
The reason why people shit all over Tuukka Rask is because even though his name is on the Stanley Cup because of 2011, he didn't win in 2013. He didn't win in 2019. And I will say again, those 2 series were not his fault.
No. And, I think people forget who else was on the roster with Tim Thomas when he was coming up. Like Tim Thomas, when he put up a 2.1 goals against average in what was it 2009, so a couple years before the Cup run, that was the year Tuukka Rask was like just barely breaking into the league. He had like one game that year, and I believe it was a shutout. But he also played with guys like he was with Manny Fernandez, he was with Hannu Toivonen, Andrew Raycroft to start,
Felix
Potvin, like the other goaltenders that Tim Thomas had a chance to play with, like, yeah, they didn't care what they were getting for goaltending. They were trying to find their goaltender. And then they traded for Tuukka Rask.
Kevin, you're my spirit animal tonight.
Hold on,
spirit animal tonight.
I love Dom's comment. Rask over Thomas in a 1-game win at all? No way. It's DiPietro all the way.
No, it's Kevin's comment before that.
This one, game 2, Thomas chasing Burrows around the net while Burrows scored an OT. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tuukka Rask doesn't do that.
No. And Swayman doesn't do that. Swayman doesn't.
I don't think he'll do it anymore after his fight against Andrei Vasilevsky.
Right, but even then, that was a different animal. I'm talking about being in the crease, in position, facing shots, not getting your dream of, getting into a goalie fight.
Which he's done it. I think the fact that he's even come out and been like, yeah, okay, it's done with. I'm past it now.
Yeah. The only thing he's going to keep shooting for is that goal.
Yeah, of course, because Linus Ullmark, he has to be able to go back to Linus Ullmark and say, I got one too.
Yeah.
But you know what? As long as he doesn't do it in a way that's stupid,
right?
I don't care.
Right.
That's the fun of the game. You want him to have fun. But when he says, I'm over it with that goalie fight, I think we saw that during the playoff run because there were countless times where he could have gotten involved.
Oh, he traded away. He had so much composure. From what I saw, remember I was on a boat for most of it.
In general, he did.
I was on a big boat and, so I didn't really get to watch a lot of it, but the highlights and stuff that I did get to watch and the stuff on Twitter and other social media, he had so much composure. That wasn't Swayman last year. Last year, Swayman would have reacted and he would have been completely lit up. I just think there's such a huge maturity. He was humbled in the season that he had the year that they finished last. He was humbled. Yeah. I think he was humbled. And I think he realized that as quickly as he got it, it could all go away.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Because he realizes that he was at the same level as Joonas Korpisalo that season. Like, I think people forget just how good Korpisalo was that year. At times, he wasn't perfect, but the team as a whole sucked.
Yeah.
And then last year even, he had down games. So did Jeremy Swayman. Let's not forget, Jeremy Swayman had a couple real stinkers last year.
Yeah.
The team had inconsistency in front of both of them, but Joonas Korpisalo still had a very, very strong goal save above expected for the duration of the season. If you put DiPietro in that situation, ain't no way he's saving that many.
Right.
This team doesn't make the playoffs without Korpisalo last year.
Right.
Now, where he goes, is Don Sweeney taking phone calls on Joonas Korpisalo? Is he bringing him up in trade talks?
Wait, wait, it's time for the line. That's his job.
I was going to say, absolutely, he fucking is, because that's his job. Let's see. Dom says, Gayle on boats, Chris on helicopters, Kevin on trains, and I have to piggyback on Kenny. Like, what the fuck? Oh, man. Yeah, he's of course going to talk to every team he can. Are you interested in him? He's got to know what the average interest is on all of his players. Gayle, while you're gone, I do want to talk about some of the names that have been brought up on the trade market. So we can go through some of that when you get back. I'll just keep an eye out for her to come back. Kevin says, I like trains, so good call for you, Dom. Kevin, you also said, and people always shit on Rask for bailing out the team. Thomas actually bailed on the team, and the year he won the cup, he wore black and white goalie gear because he wanted out. 100%. I think a lot of people forget how Thomas left this organization and, just everything around it, or they just want to overlook it because of the cup. It's the same revisionist history that people have on Brandon Bussey leaving. Let me just see if there's any other comments while we wait for Gayle to come back here. Who else couldn't do any of the things you just mentioned? Tim Thomas. Oh, that's the one that we were already on. 3 F-bombs from Chris. I will keep my finger on the mute button. Sorry, Dom. Sorry about that. But yeah, we've got her back. That's perfect timing. Gayle, I was just about to jump into the list of the names on the trade market that I think people need to cool down on. Do I think Don Sweeney has called on every single one of these players? Absolutely.
Maybe not every single one of them.
Oh, no, I guarantee you he's called on all of them because what's the line?
He's doing his job.
That's his job.
Yeah.
But the reality of a Mason McTavish trade coming to Boston is probably very, very minimal because there's not much that you can offer for the Ducks that's an upgrade. And no, Pavel Zacha is not the key piece to get you Mason McTavish because their left side is perfectly fine. Their center position is perfectly fine. I don't think people realize what they have for depth in Anaheim as far as their top 9. Jason Robertson. Jason Robertson, in my opinion, is a little bit more realistic just because of the cap crunch that Dallas is under right now overall to keep everybody they want to keep.
Mm-hmm.
But they have other ways around it. And if they want to keep them bad enough, there are ways they can work around it. And if they do decide they want to move on from Robertson, there are teams that can offer way more than Boston can. Like, Jason Robertson will cost you probably at least James Higgins because that's your most tradable, your most valuable trade piece right now. And every team knows it. Anytime you pick up the phone and say, I would like X player, if they're a top tier player, the number one name they're saying is, okay, James Higgins and who? And what else you got? Right. Maverick Bork, I'm not putting on that same level, but I don't know how much he helps this team because he's not a top 2 center. He's not even a top 2 center on the Dallas Stars. They can put him in that role for a little while, but that's not where he shines. I'm sick and tired of hearing the name Philip Roenick because he and his agent is Alan Walsh. He's not exactly a quiet voice. They have both made it very clear, as has the team. No one has interest in that relationship of parting ways. He wants to be there for the rebuild. They want him there for the rebuild. He ain't going anywhere. He's got a full no move clause. Stop trying to move him. And he says, how do we get that McDavid guy? He's pretty good. You wait for him to not renew and throw a bag of cash at him in free agency and pray to God. That's the only way you can get him. This one I think is a little more realistic, and I do want to know what your thoughts are on this. Elias Pettersson. The reason why it's a little bit more realistic is because you can send money the other way. This is a way that you could explore to get out of the Elias Lindholm contract. Now, Darnell Nurse is another option for this as well because he also has a bad contract and they're looking to move him. So the question becomes, is one of the two of them, whether it's Darnell Nurse or Elias Pettersson, potentially worth more to the Bruins than Elias Elias Lindholm is on his contract.
Not if Elias Lindholm is healthy.
And that's what we keep coming back to. Do I think Elias Lindholm's a number one center? No.
But he doesn't need to be. He doesn't need to be anymore.
He can be a strong number 2 right now in the short term, and then a very, very strong number 3, as long as he can get his back situation sorted out.
Correct.
Now, because of that unknown, that's what makes me sit there and question about the idea of dealing him. Because if you assume his back issues kick up again, at least Vancouver can throw him on IR if he goes that route. He's been there before. He knows what to expect. He can go on IR there and they can keep the cap hit. And then if they ever needed to, they could move him to LTIR. It opens up that roster spot for Pettersson, who can be a true number 1 center, to be paired with a player like David Pastrnak or Morgan Geekie, however you want to, figure out the lineup.
Right.
But to your point, if the injury can be solved, now that they've had a season where they've been able to kind of play around with it and he can figure out his offseason off of it, you're taking a major coin flip by swapping the 2 Eliases. So that becomes a little more questionable. In my opinion, the better option would be to do it for Darnell Nurse, because Edmonton's closer to winning. Elias Lindholm helps them with their defensive game because the entire team needs to play better defense. Darnell Nurse can play the right side, so that helps you with your right side needs. He can play the left. It just adds depth to your defense. Talking about their food. We'll get to one of Kevin's comments. Dom, hopefully the grandkids don't see the comment. And Elias Lindholm would approve that deal because he's going to Edmonton, where he has a legitimate chance to win the cup. So,
it also depends on who their coach is going forward.
Yeah. Babcock. Oh, man. What did you think when you heard that news that they were looking at Babcock? We'll go off on a little tangent here for a minute.
You know what? If they deserve everything they get if they go that route.
Kevin says, I saw some dumb F say we should trade for Boone Jenner and trade for Anders Lee. Well, Kevin, my response is the same as always. What's the cost? I'm not against either one of them. I'm not against trading for anybody. It's just a matter of what's the cost. I don't want to give up, Matthew Poitras for any of those guys, because Matthew Poitras can bring something that they don't bring in a spot where we need it. They bring what we already have. So, oh man. Now Dom and Kevin are talking about food, making me hungry again. Simone Nemec,
I was laughing.
Yeah. Yeah. Simone Nemec from New Jersey. What are your thoughts when you hear people talk about trading for him?
It depends on the cost. I mean, that's why I don't like to speculate unless you're going to tell me exactly who they're giving up for him.
I see the fit in our lineup, 100%. We need the right shot D, but what are we parting with?
Right. That's my whole thing. Like, do you have to part with Mason Lohrei, James Higgins, and another, Dean Letourneau or something?
I was going to say, I think in that deal you could get away with Dean Letourneau over Higgins, simply because the trajectory allows Dean Letourneau to come in at a time where they can potentially move off of Nico Hischier. Like, that would be kind of their succession plan. But I don't see them making that. I mean, Nick, what's his name, is coming in and already, I forget who took over GM there, but they're already talking about moving on from Jacob Markstrom. Like, I see big moves for New Jersey. You're just not going to give those players away, though.
Right.
And I mean, we'll see what they do with Markstrom, because when he's healthy, he's still solid.
Mm-hmm.
And he controls where he can go. So that's someone who may end up in Florida because Connor Hellebuck, actually, believe it or not, does not mind Winnipeg. And so far, to my knowledge, I don't know if you've heard anything different. Correct me if you have, but to my knowledge, he hasn't officially asked for a trade. It's just people trying to will that ask into existence.
Right. Well, and the other thing is too is that, I just like I understand that the league, and I saw this on Twitter today or Blue Sky, one of the social medias. It is the best league in the world. It's the best sport in the world and the worst league, because it really is.
Yeah.
The amount, I understand if they want to make players happy and this, that, and the other thing, but the no movements, the no trades, the 16 list, the this list, the that list, that shit needs to go away. And it's never going to. But it's too much.
I think I don't think it has to go away. I think GMs need to use it smarter. That the GMs have done this to themselves because and we all have seen people crap on Peter Chiarelli for it. He gave no move clauses away like they were candy. He gave them to Rich Peverly and Chris Kelly. Like, that's when you knew it was getting out of control.
Right.
But no one did that to the Bruins except for their own front office. And that's
but it's not even just the Bruins, it's league wide.
Oh, absolutely. There are certain players who that you want to be able to give a no move clause and say, look, unless you ask to go somewhere, we want you to have the security that we're not going to up and trade you without your say so.
Right.
That would be Connor Hellebuck in Winnipeg. He deserves one. That would be Kyle Connor in Winnipeg. He deserves one. I would not have given one to Jordan Kyrou, but Robert Thomas is the type of player who deserves one. Jeremy Swayman deserves one. Who doesn't? Jonas Korpisalo. Now, if you truly believe in a player like Korpisalo, we'll use him as an example, and you really believe he can fit the role that you need him to fit, and you want to satisfy a lower cap hit to do it, and you want to give some flexibility, then I'm okay with a modified no trade list. But you don't give Jonas Korpisalo a full no move clause. You give him a partial at most. And again, that's when you think he's going to fulfill a role for you for a long period of time. A good example of that would be, like, I know in Winnipeg, Eric Comrie and Connor Hellebuck have a fantastic, almost Swayman Allmark like relationship. And Eric Comrie knows he's going to get his 20 to 25 games a year, and he's accepted that role, and he wants to thrive in that role, and he wants to support Connor Hellebuck as the team's starter. I'm not saying I would give Eric Comrie a no move clause, but that's the type of person where you could consider the partial if you wanted to be able to say to him, look, I promise you we're not looking to move on from you for the next 3 seasons. We want you to be our number 2.
Right.
But in the league as a whole, I mean, you look at teams like Florida, they don't have a single player who doesn't have one. Some teams just screw themselves over. Vegas has a whole team with them. Now, does that mean they can't make moves? No, but, well, people are going to look at you like you're an ass. What do you think of their whole "No One Likes Us" tour? I heard the eye roll from here. Kevin says, I'm a firm believer that there should only be drafting and free agency in sports. Trades should go away. No, I can't go that far, Kevin.
I like the trade deadline.
Oh, yeah. Trade deadline.
Although I feel with the no trade movements and the no trade this and the no trade that the deadlines aren't as fun as they used to be.
Yeah, I would agree. I also think some of what has helped ruin some of those types of things, and this isn't because I don't like them, but insiders. The
Oh,
insiders
well,
get
half of them are wrong too.
well. It's not only that, but they get information. I mean, you know, Frank Cervalli was just doing his job, but we knew the entire expansion draft because of him, and it was 6 hours before the thing even aired. There was no point to watch it. Again, he was doing his job. I'm not crapping on him for doing that.
Yeah, but
But
he
it
did his
ruined
job
the
badly.
expansion draft. What?
He did his job badly.
I mean, he got the information, he put it out there.
Just for that one thing, but he does his job badly. Can we
Sure.
all agree that he's not a good insider? That
Whether you think
90%
he
of the
is,
times he's wrong.
whether you think he is or he isn't, is a completely different conversation. My point is he was doing his job, he got information, and he put it out there, and he completely ruined the expansion draft. That expansion draft would have been a much better spectacle, a much better watch if we didn't have the pick 6 hours before it happened. That's all I'm trying to say. If we didn't have, like, if we did not know that Dylan Larkin was looking to move from Detroit, yes, we'd have a lot less to talk about as far as Larkin, but we'd also have a lot more to talk about because we wouldn't know whether or not Larkin wanted out. The speculation is who wants out, who doesn't want out, who wants to move, where do they want to go. Those conversations pick up.
Bring up Kevin's comment.
This one here, I enjoy the trades.
Yeah.
But I put myself in players' shoes. Getting traded must really suck for a lot of players who don't want to be traded. It's fun for us on our phones, but it's real life for them.
It's part of the job.
That's why they get paid the millions they do.
No offense, but I mean, I didn't appreciate it when Nesson eliminated my whole department. It's part of life. Shit happens.
And also, the most of the time, the players that are getting traded are either going to a bigger opportunity or they're not in the NHL yet. Yeah, Kenny, that's true. He says the problem is every insider needs to be first, so they don't do their due diligence. That's why there's so many false or otherwise inaccurate reports. 100%.
And it's because of the world of social media. Because if it weren't for social media, it wouldn't be such a get first. You know what I mean?
Yep. And that's why, our goal, I know you and me, Dom, when we do our show, we would rather give you accurate information because
I want to make up rumors.
Well, we can do that.
So then everyone can be like, oh, it was Gayle that was wrong. It was Gayle that was wrong.
I've heard a rumor that Jamie Langenbrunner might join Nashville. It's not confirmed yet, though. Dom says, I would love if trades went away, then Chris would have more to talk to me about. We've got plenty to talk about, Dom. And then he says, the next expansion draft, I'm going to stand behind the Windsor Spitfires management and break it like Cervalli did. Dom, that is still one of my favorite stories to this day about how you get a team from the OHL to block you on Twitter because of it. That was their own stupidity. That's what I mean by management in any of these organizations can be some of the smartest people, but so dumb at the same time.
Do you know what else I heard?
What's that?
I don't think it's out there yet. Vegas is not bringing back Tortorella. And I think it's going to be Ryan Craig, but shh, don't tell anyone.
Yeah, don't tell anyone. That shouldn't be out there yet. And then Kenny says, there's also no accountability. How many times does Frank get it wrong? A million times, and he still has a platform. But of course, he gets the Bridgeport news right. Yeah, I mean, the Bridgeport news was not that much of a secret overall. Like, something that big, people are going to get it out there. But it's just a matter of, one, timing. Like, I've had people Gayle, you got that off the record. Like, I've had conversations with people where they're like, yeah, I can't tell you this,
Why is
or
my heart not working?
I don't know. Try it a little higher. I don't know. And then the conversations that are off the record and all that stuff where, you just got to better pick and choose what you stick with. Like, I'm by no stretch am I sitting here going, I'm trying to be an insider because I'm talking to these people and whatever. It's just, yeah, Kenny says, can confirm. I knew a year before then. Yeah, it still does suck. I mean, that's a whole nother Kenny. We'll have to do something to talk about it sometime. But it just, you get one thing right, and now you're, Colby Cohen is not trying to be an insider when he pushes out that Carlisle is not leaving Colorado. But he all but said that he got it directly from Carlisle. That doesn't make him an insider. It just means he knows where he got the information from, and he was okayed to put that out there. And as much as he did, people still shat all over him, telling him how wrong he was going to be and how funny it was going to be when he was wrong. And who did the Toronto Maple Leafs hire as their coach? It wasn't David Carlisle. So, you've got to think about what the benefit is for someone putting something out there, and someone like Saravalli. I mean, Friedman obviously is probably the best at it when it comes to the NHL.
That's only because Bob McKenzie is pretty much retired at this point.
Yeah. But like some of the other insiders, I mean, sometimes they'll say stuff and say, I'm trying to confirm this, or one source has told me this and I can't confirm it with anybody else. At least there's context to what they're putting out there at that point. But for the most part, what the insiders are chasing is clicks for their company. That's why, as Kenny said, they got to be first. They got to be first, not accurate. And sometimes it bites them. Let's see. Kevin says, let's go back to when Gayle liked me while I was talking shit about Thomas.
I like you. I didn't say that I didn't like you.
I know that. I don't know where he got that idea from. I mean, like Kevin, we all always make stuff up. So, earlier today, we saw, as we mentioned, the Jamie Langenbrunner news. Michael Kesselring has now been traded out of the division, so we don't have to worry about him in Buffalo anymore as he gets moved to San Jose. I mean, there's not much more going on right now. The Bruins made a signing. Not much. I've still got to go and watch some video on them, but I've heard some decent things. I think people forget that. Have a good night, Dom.
Night, Tom.
I think people forget that this team has a Providence roster to ice as well, and so we'll see where he lands. I've heard names. Obviously, we talked at length about Jonas Korpisalo. I've also heard Lohrei and Patra out there for trade. Sean Kuraly was one that I saw earlier as well. Is there anyone aside from, I think we can both agree that pretty much the only three names that you're not shopping are Swayman, McAvoy, and Pastrnak.
Yeah.
Anybody else if someone calls and says, hey, we want to trade for Pastrnak, like you go, okay, well, what are you thinking? Like, what are you looking at doing here? But to get that kind of player out of Boston is going to be a big haul.
Right.
Same thing with McAvoy. Same thing with Swayman. But everybody else, you're at least opening the door on. I wouldn't even keep Geeky off that list. I like him. I like his contract. I don't think you should be giving him away, but I'll still listen on him.
Again, part of the job.
Like, if it meant that I could bring in a Jason Robertson because I'm sending Morgan Geeky the other way, I would at least consider it. I got to know what the contract is going to be. Kevin asks, is Patra untouchable? Or he says Patra is untouchable and asks if you would confirm that.
No.
Islanders fans are mad at Darsh for letting Mike Riley walk. All fan bases are the same, all delusional, and need to be mad at their GM.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think people in Boston forget Mike Riley was a contract that we hated. He was the one we hated before we hated Derek Forbort. I'm just glad that there are so many people who don't run these teams. So
I don't hate Matthew Potter.
No. Yeah. We won't go there.
He put it there.
I know. That's why I said we won't go there. We won't go there. In other Boston hockey, though, the Boston Fleet have lost a few players. They've drafted a couple.
A few players. Holy shit. Their roster got decimated again.
I figured I'd let you go over that a little bit more. But they cleaned the floor at the PWHL Awards, okay?
They really did. They really, really did.
They got what? Defender of the Year, Coach of the Year, MVP? I'm missing one.
Rookie of the Year and Goaltender of the Year.
Yep.
The only one they didn't get was Forward of the Year. That went to Kelly Panic, which was understandable. But yeah, I was literally horrified reading so many fans saying that Boston lost nothing. I'm like, they lost Alina Mueller, four defensemen from the get-go.
Yeah.
And what do you mean they lost nothing? And Alina Mueller going to Hamilton with Chris Spar, because they lost their head coach.
That right there is not nothing.
They lost Chris Spar, who, by the way, won Coach of the Year last year, because Boston improved by 18 points from last season to this season. 18 points. From a non-playoff team to the second seed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And coming off an expansion year where they lost Hillary Knight.
Yeah. But don't worry, they haven't lost anything.
No, they haven't lost anything. So in the first two picks of the draft tonight, because the draft started at 5:00. Who does that? Only the PWHL. The Bruins. Wow. My brain. The Fleet selected Grace Dwyer. It was pick number 10, because in how they did the draft order too. So not only did they decimate the original 6 and then the newer teams, Vancouver and Seattle, so the original 8 teams, to help build the new 4 teams rosters, only the 2 teams that finished in last place and second to last place got the first 2 spots. Then they put the 4 new teams in.
Of course.
So the New York Sirens got completely screwed. They didn't pick till like 7, I think. You know what I mean? So it was like, and Boston ended up picking 10th. But so they have to build up their their blue line, because they lost 4 defenders. Now, granted, they kept Megan Keller, who's defender of the year, and they kept Haley Wynn, who was rookie of the year. And they really are the best defenders in the league. But still, they've lost the rest of their blue line.
They did the most Boston thing ever. They built from the net out.
Yeah.
They kept their goaltender and 2 defensemen, the 2 best defensemen, and they said, this is the best we can do, because we're only able to protect these people at this time. And then they were able to protect a few more in the second round of expansion, right?
Right. Well, yes. So, but then, so the whole process is that you can protect 3 players. You can lose.
Sorry, Kenny says the PWHL expansion was complete BS and made up on the fly.
It is. I don't know who came up with this process, but it was absolutely horrendous. I was talking to so many people that so many reporters and stuff that I see at the Fleet games. We all sit in the press box together. We're all talking about this process. In my opinion, they should have been able to protect one goaltender, two defenders, and either one or two forwards. And then you know what I mean? Because last year they had to pick between Megan Keller, Alina Mueller, Erin Frankel, and Hillary Knight. This year, they had to pick between Megan Keller, Haley Wynn, Erin Frankel, and Alina Mueller.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like, at least let them keep their best players at one of each position.
Right. And the whole purpose is the league wants the new franchises to come in and be competitive. Okay. So you plucked away the best players from the teams, and then you give them the best draft capital.
Yeah.
That's not they're more than competitive.
Yeah. Just to bring it back real quick, like, I liked the way they did the rules they put in place for the Vegas expansion draft. I just think that the 30 teams that were in existence at that time did not handle their capital properly.
Right. And that was something we talked about, like I talked about with a couple of other reporters, is that you have to allow your existing teams to protect more than just like, when they did the Vegas one, it was more like, here's the players we're willing to give up, not the players that we want to protect. They had to give up, and they had to give up a top tier player. It's not like they could only give up,
Well, they also that was a time where no move clauses came back to bite some teams in the ass, because as much as they wanted to let someone potentially be exposed because of their contract, you couldn't, because you gave them a no move clause, and the way they did it, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was one goaltender. I want to say it was 7. It was like 3 and 4, 3 defensemen and 4 forwards, or 7 skaters in total.
Right.
Like, they took one slot away if you went with the general skaters.
Right.
And just the way they went about it, it allowed you to protect your top 3 defensemen and your top 3 forwards.
Right.
Period. It allowed you to protect your starting goaltender, or who you wanted to be your starter. And then it allowed you to protect a couple of your role players.
Right.
Now, clearly, with the way Vegas came out of the gate, they took advantage of some situations where they got draft capital to not pick certain players. And a lot of those teams picked wrong.
Right.
The Ducks paid them to take Shea Theodore. Oops. Like, it just, they got paid to take William Karlsson.
Right.
Oops.
Right. No, but you know what? But the teams in the NHL, now granted, there were a lot more teams, but the teams in the NHL were not decimated to make the new franchise.
No, and Vegas came out and was still competitive.
Right. And and I read on social media, someone said your new franchises should have to pick from the draft, not just from and the way they set it up in phases. I think the league thought it was, phase 1 was, it was, the signing period. And then it was the existing teams could protect 3 players. And then the next phase was the new franchises could pluck away whoever they wanted, pretty much. And then it was the opening signing window for only the existing. Like, it was just stupid how they did it. And even though they think it was like, there was like 6 phases, and we're still not done. We're still not done. And the whole thing is that, they wanted to get to 12 teams, but after last year's expansion, and they saw what it did to the existing teams, not to mention, I've had a lot of parents going, my child doesn't know who to root for anymore, because every time she finds a favorite player on her favorite team, they get plucked away by a new team.
Yeah. Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah.
It's brutal. I know I've seen that complaint from a lot of parents and a lot of even fans, because like, you know, how many people went out last year and bought an Alina Mueller jersey for the Fleet,
Well,
and now she's gone.
Erin Frankel,
Yeah,
and her and Alina Mueller they played together at Northeastern. So it's not like they were brand new teammates. They
right.
played together at Northeastern. They were close at Northeastern. And then Alina Mueller was selected, I think, 3rd overall in the first draft. You know
Yeah,
what I
she was
mean?
the
And it's
Fleet's
just,
first draft pick, wasn't she?
yeah.
Yeah. So like, you finally have a drafted, quote unquote, born and bred Boston Fleet member,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't even protect her in the expansion draft because you're limited in who you can protect.
Right.
And of course, they're going to jump all over that player. Now,
Well,
good for her.
Especially Chris Spar. He knows what Alina Mueller has.
I was going to say, good for her, though. I'm pretty sure she's from the Hamilton area, too.
No.
No?
She's
Well, no. Didn't she play there before, though, or something?
No.
She just went there because of the coach?
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't dove into it as much as I wanted to.
She's not Canadian.
No, I know she's not Canadian. I just thought she was in that area for some part of something.
No.
But she went to a coach that she's familiar with. She went to, like, why wouldn't she do that?
Right.
And
not to mention, you're like, you didn't protect me, so I'm going to go.
Yeah, as Kenny says, for a league that does a lot of things right, they really dropped the ball on this one.
They really did. I mean, the good news is that they're not going to have any more expansions anytime soon.
Yeah, they got to sell off and franchise out each team now, and I think that'll do wonders for their profit margin. And, you know, will it suck in some ways? Yeah, but I think they'll try to find the right owners. I do like Kevin's comment. If there's an expansion, we have to protect Korpisalo because Swayman goes down. We need him to go in. Was there anything else on the Fleet before I circle back to the Bruins?
No, but I have to go soon because I have to put the windows in my Jeep because it's going to rain tomorrow.
That's fine. The last thing I wanted to touch on is the roster for development camp has been released.
Mm-hmm. Preliminary. It hasn't been preliminary. It's preliminary.
I don't see too much changing with it.
No, they'll probably add more. They could add more players. They could definitely add more players.
I wish Dom was here for that one. Oh, man. I know you said that you're not going to be able to make it to development camp. That's a bummer.
No, unfortunately, I will not make it to development camp.
Was there anyone on the preliminary roster, though, or not on the roster that caught your eye at all?
Yeah, I want Bruins fans to shut up because Higgins is not on it.
I wasn't surprised by that, though.
No, but I know, but Bruins fans are like, he's not on it. It's like, no.
As Kenny says, they'll add more after the draft. Yeah, probably. They'll probably add everyone they draft to the list of invites, and then depending on who can make it, you know, other things are going on. I mean, I think people just forget how much hockey James Higgins played in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
And you can't, they clearly went to him and said, you don't have to come. Because last year when they said, you don't have to come, he overnighted on the flight at 4 a.m. and showed up. So, like, I think he's kind of done his time at dev camp. He's fine. I love the fact that Letourneau is there. I'm really excited to see, you know, the development that we've gotten from guys like Casper Nason, Chris Pelosi, Cole Spicer. You know, those guys will be very interesting to see. I do wonder if the fact that they've only put 2 goaltenders on here, are they waiting for invite exceptions from other ones? Because they normally bring 4. So, or are we going to see them draft a couple and bring those guys to camp? That's what I'm wondering. Svedback's not coming to camp. He's done. But yeah, I mean, everybody else on this list, you know, Bruins fans should be excited to see them at camp. and I'll be going. I know a lot of people who will be going as well. And yeah, I'm sorry that you can't make it.
Kevin, and not only get the duck boats ready, but the other thing is that people forget that Providence has to have a roster.
Yeah, right now Providence has 9 players signed,
Yeah.
and 2 of them are goaltenders. So they really have a roster of 7 skaters. So let's see. Kenny says no, they told him do not come because when they told him to take it easy, he took that to mean taking a jet overnight, getting into Boston at 4 a.m. and suiting up. Yeah, that's why they told Higgins don't come. I don't read anything into it. I don't think he needs to be there.
No, because the point is that the Bruins, they saw enough of a sample size. He's either starting the season in Boston or in Providence. They don't need to learn anything else about him.
No, and they need him to focus on his own work.
Yeah.
He knows what he needs to do this offseason. And a lot of it, it's all off ice stuff. So if he were on this list, it would indicate that he was only participating in off ice work more than likely. Right. Now that doesn't mean he won't show up. I mean, we've seen Jeremy Swayman there. We've seen plenty of players there that don't need to be, but I just he doesn't need to participate. So
and Kevin, don't worry, I got you.
I don't know which comment. Oh, anyway. Any final thoughts on either the Fleet or the Bruins? I know you got to go take care of the windows. We're a little over the hour and 15-minute mark here. It's the off season. We don't have to keep perpetuating. Yeah. I mean, there's plenty to talk about if we want to continue to shoot the shit on it, but we can do another show next week if we want to. Next week is the draft. So we'll probably do one. Yeah, Kevin says got me for what?
You said you wish John was here for that. Don't worry, I got you.
Oh yeah, for that. So yeah, we'll probably do.
Where my hearts are.
I don't know. I wonder if it's an update that they've taken them away or something. I hope not. I know how much you enjoyed them, but yeah. With that, I'm sure at some point we'll talk more about the lineup. We got to see what they do at the draft as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they trade this pick.
No, and let's not forget, July 1st is right around the corner.
Yeah. I don't think we'll have the same excitement as we had last year. At least for Boston.
We'll see.
I think Don Sweeney is going to be much more reactive based on what other teams do. Because what other teams do will allow him to make different decisions. Because, again, not to continually bring it back to him, but if another team goes out and signs one of the free agent goaltenders, they're not going to trade for Jonas Korpisalo. But some teams may go out and put someone else on the market so they can sign a free agent. And then once you get into negotiating the deal, they go, you know what? If you're willing to retain on Korpisalo, we'll do this deal, and then we don't have to sign that free agent. So it's going to be an interesting offseason. I see a lot of trades coming, but who knows with those no move clauses. You got anything else before we sign off here as I start to choke?
Thank you, Kevin. Gayle has to go.
I know. With that, as we say every week, go Bees.